Rosebud, back at it.
Absolutely.
Not wearing black today.
No.
I know you just said that right before I clapped.
I just super noticed and I got excited. Very proud of myself.
So Do We Have to crew, kind of a behind the scenes or breaking of the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Emily and I, before we start the show, so it's a whole elongated process, okay? So we have to set up all the equipment because it's in our dining room. So obviously we don't have a studio. So literally we're moving equipment around constantly. And then when we're going to film, we have to time that all around. And then right before the moment, because Uncle Colin will get pissed about this, our wonderful executive producer, Colin Maskell.
Probably not.
He prefers to match up the sound and the video in a certain way, in a very Colin way. I actually think it's just industry standard. So instead of one of those big box things where you smack it, the click before the thing, Emily and I do a clap. And we just had noticed that Emily wasn't wearing black, which is very unusual. But I am. So I am wearing it in your honor.
Thank you. I have black pants on, but nobody can see that.
And they look beautiful.
Thanks.
And to the Do We Have To crew, welcome to Do We Have To, a marriage podcast. I'm your host, Sean.
I'm Emily.
Our executive producer, who I just mentioned earlier, is probably already annoyed with me, is Colin Smedium Maskell. This is a Not Actual Family Studios production. We got one hell of a show for you today.
Yeah.
We're actually going to start a parenting series.
Yeah, we're going to learn a lot about how to be parents.
Yeah, no, this is going to be an informative journey for Emily and I to learn how to be better parents. I shouldn't say good. I think we're okay. Better parents, and hopefully some of the things that we've been researching and finding and being able to kind of organize in a format to provide to everybody that you guys will too. And so we're not going to just focus. We're going to focus on everything about being a kid, right? We're going to focus on the mental, the physical, and we're going to have a multi-series part. We are going to be postponing the book club. I know you guys are used to the book club once a month. But, we got some feedback about, doing a little bit more research, providing some more just general information, parenting and marriage. And we wanted to jump in and dive into a parenting series. So we're doing that. Buckle up, everybody.
Yeah, we're going to research the heck out of stuff.
Speaking of parenting.
Yeah.
Is there no other parenting trial or test than taking children to church and the church lasts more than an hour?
Oh, Easter Vigil.
Yes. For our fellow Catholics out there, you understand what I'm talking about. But my brother-in-law, Emily's brother-in-law, her sister's husband joined the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. So we made sure that, it actually took a couple things falling in the right place, but we were able to get the entire family up to Easter Vigil Mass. And if you don't know what Easter Vigil Mass is,
it is the
Emily's
most
going to break it down for you.
Beautiful Mass of the year, in my opinion.
Make the audience feel as if they're there. Can you just set the tone?
God, I'm not very good at that.
Create the visuals.
Well, you go through Holy Week, and it's all the preparation of, Jesus dying for our sins and for our life.
Right.
Which is just beautiful in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to Easter Vigil, and it takes you through, all the trials and tribulations of those who follow Jesus. And, it just, to me, it is one of Easter to me is the most holy holiday. Yeah. More so than Christmas, I think, just because his purpose was fulfilled.
You think he's pissed that it turned into a commercial holiday with an Easter bunny and a basket and candy?
I don't know.
I haven't heard the ESPN go off a single time this week until we started recording. It's almost like you do it on purpose.
But I have always loved Easter Vigil because I think it is something so beautiful when you see adults choose to be welcomed into a church and be baptized and confirmed and first communion. And, it takes a lot for them to go through this process. It's not just like, hey, you signed up one day, you just joined the church. You really have to understand what you're going into. Sure. And I think RCI programs really do help people understand it. And I've been a sponsor to people joining the church before, and so have you, obviously. But I think it's
shout out Uncle Zach.
I think it's really, really important that the sponsor you choose is someone who you actually have a relationship with, that you can pour some very intimate details of your life to, because
Zach took a gamble on me.
And they have to embody what you envision your faith life like.
So you're going to talk about just like all of Catholicism in general, or are we going to talk about
I'm
actual
sorry.
math? No, what I want to do, now you're fine.
God.
It's just funny. You know what I love about this though, is the reason why you're talking about it in this way is because you're so passionate about it. That's why you're our spiritual leader of our family. That's why you are who you are. I think it's awesome. But what I was trying to get around to was what the actual event entails, the amount of time.
If you're not Catholic,
what's going
I don't
on?
know.
You're lighting candles back and
Yeah,
forth. No,
like
people
kids,
people are going to be
you
interested in
start
this.
outside by this giant bonfire and
these
that's
people
where
light
mass
these
starts, and then
candles.
you start to light the candles,
So of
which
course-
leads to the Easter candle, which is the big candle that's always
Sure.
lit in church.
Can we pause
Yes,
though?
I'm sorry, yes.
So I'm just trying to relate this to anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going to, it's not just for Catholics. So you're a parent and you get into church. Church is dark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you're still in reverence. Yeah.
Right. Right. Because Jesus is dead.
Yeah.
Has not risen yet. So it's fucking dark in the church. You can't see
maybe
anything.
we don't
The kids
say the F
are,
word right now.
well, that's fine. Jesus will understand it.
Oh, okay.
Kids are, it's different environment. Also, you're about to do pretty much a 3-hour mass, just depending on the size and the amount of folks that have gone through the RCI process. So you walk in, it's dark. They start handing candles out. What do the kids do? Well, I want to light that candle up, right? I want to do the candle. It's like, no, we're just going to stay inside. It was cold. Like, no, I've got to do the candle, And then we kind of faux pas the candle. Then that was issue right off the bat. So right off the bat, kids not fans of me and Emily because we kiboshed the candle. So then they bring the candles back, or they bring candles in and they're lighting everything. I'm like, okay, fine. We'll light the candle. Then of course we start lighting the candles. One of them breaks one.
Yep.
One's not working. One's melting and they're holding it not the right way.
And one doesn't want to hold it anymore.
It's a very important process. It is an awesome mass. It is
Yeah.
a fucking nightmare to have young kids with. Although I
didn't
did think
think it was
overall
that
they
bad.
did okay. Yeah.
We had one fall asleep.
One did fall asleep, but she was there were so many people in there. I think it gave her a small anxiety
Well,
attack.
and it's a total different setup than Easter Vigil and Easter is my holiday. Like it is my favorite.
It's your time to shine.
But we've never taken our kids to Easter Vigil Mass because it is so detailed and so long. And
You know what I just realized?
yeah,
Only you, who's like, I don't like dark content, your favorite holiday would be about somebody murdering another person, them coming back to life. So basically the first ever recorded zombie. And that's true. That's what a zombie is. It's the living dead.
No.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying Jesus was like a brain-eating zombie. I'm just saying if you're going to go by the definition of what a zombie is, which is the living dead, that's the only one we know of, right? So all I'm saying is that only you, who I think is pure of heart, would somehow, this would be the holiday that makes most sense. Because there's so much love and everything behind it. And I understand it. It's just funny that there's so much darkness that happens for this to lead up to. But yeah, anyway, sorry. So, but then
talking about Easter can make me cry all the time, like the sacrifice and what it really means.
Sure.
And I think it's a very personal experience for everybody, but I could cry every time. I cried during Mass. I mean, just like Veneration of the Cross, I wasn't able to go this year because I was working, but
yeah, I think it's awesome.
There is something about just leaving everything at the altar and leaving it at the cross. I'm going to cry now.
Yeah.
Easter is beautiful. Easter Vigil Mass is beautiful, but
it's
our
really
children,
long if anybody ever goes. So just be mindful of that.
We should have had Seamus did great. He's old enough. I think
did
he
fine
would
too.
good.
So did Dave. I mean, they did fine.
They did great.
It's
I think we
just
should have taken a
problematic.
nap beforehand so that we weren't so
Why? So they could be up
cranky.
all night and then not be on a good sleeping pattern for school? Fuck that.
Well, they had school off.
Either
so
way,
it's
Colin's
fine.
going to be pissed. Banter's only supposed to last 2 minutes, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. We were going on like 6-7 minutes here. I didn't mean to open up the can of water that I did.
And then the Pope passing,
I know.
it's just been
Rest in power. I will say something.
Peace.
And power. I will say something about this. I am very hard on organized religion. In my opinion, who am I, right? I think there's great things about organized religion. I have a really hard time with, especially figureheads or people that are higher up. They treat it very politically in almost like a bureaucracy of sense at times. And I think it ends up taking advantage of people and not taking care of people. And
Pope
a lot of
Francis
times,
was not that.
no, he wasn't. And I think that's the coolest thing if that man has left a legacy, when he first took over being Pope, he literally said, we need to take the politics out of this. We need to take bureaucracy. We need to show mercy. We need to be inclusive. When they asked about gay citizens being in the church or transgenders or whatever, what did he say? He's like, it's not my place to judge. It's not my place to judge. Fucking right. That's being a Christian. Mm-hmm. And I just, that's so, in this country at least, I don't know what it's like outside this world. This country, that is lost right now. I hope we find it again. And it's not everybody, but it is a large majority of people who believe in Jesus that don't believe in, I don't think Jesus would be okay with how we are as a society. So that's all I got. But I
know that my God forgives and he shines mercy.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. But we're supposed to be beacons of that light.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, it goes back to everybody fucks up. Everybody does things wrong, right or wrong. Everybody's wronged somebody. And like, we have to show compassion. And he was a person who did that. And he really was taking the church in a very progressive direction, a modern direction. And I really hope, and if anybody's seen the movie Conclave, when you guys are back there doing your shit,
that's not how this
everything. It's exactly how it'll go.
It's not. No.
Ray Fiennes, when you're back there and you're doing your thing, for the love of God, please stick with this progressive direction we're going in. Do not bring in a conservative pope, for the love of everything. Soapbox done.
That's not how that's going to go. But
we got to move forward though, because I already said this was, we're doing these series. We're going to make it more cleaner episodes. Colin is depending on us, and now we're fucking him over. Okay. So guys, what we're going to do for you today, we're going to run in we're going to jump right into the, the parenting series. And this one today is going to be the state of mental health in 2025 for young kids. And so we're going to kind of break down all the research that we did. There's a lot of numbers, a lot of statistics. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we just these are things, if you're informed, you can be better and be more proactive for looking out for things, but also for preparing your kids for these things. And then also, hey, how do I get help for these things?
But also just knowing, kind of where general children are at, at a certain age group. And something that I found interesting that you didn't catch on was that girls have a higher percentage on all of these categories than the boys do.
Yeah. So if you have girls, definitely tune in, because this is something that more than likely is something you're going to, and honestly, depending on the numbers, I think parents, at least for me, most of us are like, when they're really young, you don't want to fuck them up, but it's not really that time. That time is like those first few years, really just making sure they're fed, and like, you might not be perfect, but that they're fine. Mm-hmm. It isn't until they really start getting into those adolescent ages and teenage ages where you don't have as much exposure. They're getting exposed to other things we're running into a lot of this. And
I think we're there, for us on our children. Yeah. I think who our children are now are who they're going to be when they're older.
I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily 100%, but we're definitely starting to see some foundations being formed.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so you can see where there's been mistakes where we've made as far as how we've been as parents, and then things that we've done that benefit. And, and we'll bring that up when we go over these statistics. So we're not going to just feed just statistics at you, but we'll also kind of talk about how that relates back to us. And again, guys, as you know, Emily and I are not parenting experts. We're not marriage experts. Nope. However, if we do help you after you get off this, or if you feel better, you legally owe us, probably, if this gets to be about a half an hour show, you'd owe us about $75.
No, you owe us nothing.
So just let me know. You can reach out to me on our socials. We'll give them to you at the end. You can give me a Venmo.
We legally cannot give anything. We have zero legal responsibility in this show. It's just
absolutely, unless we helped you, and then legally we helped you.
Oh dear.
Okay.
No.
So, but before we jump into that, just giving you a little taste of what's to come here in a moment.
Yeah.
Emily and I are going to start our third round really quick of our wonderful game, Let's Get Deep.
Yes.
And for those who don't know, Let's Get Deep is, maybe it's the first time you listen to the episode. It's a game that's played on Netflix, Love is Blind.
Yeah.
Basically, people don't see each other and they get to the point of getting married. They use these cards as a way to start getting to know each other. And Emily and I have done 2 rounds of this. So
we're back to
there's
icebreaker.
3 types of cards: icebreaker, deep, and deeper. And today we're going to do an icebreaker. And Emily, break it down.
Our icebreaker question is, what's your favorite band or musical artist? Mine is super easy. Everybody probably already knows, but it is Dashboard Confessional.
Mine's probably Dashboard. That's just a really hard question. My favorite emo band is Dashboard Confessional. My
favorite of all time.
Yeah, my favorite rapper's Notorious Big, but it's not because I like his music better than other rappers. It's because when I was a kid, he gave me a confidence being a larger kid that I didn't get from other people. So I guess like maybe every genre I have somebody, but I would say Dashboard's probably, especially us as a couple.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Dashboard song?
Well, our song.
Stolen? Mm-hmm. Because it's our wedding song? Mm-hmm. You really, that's your favorite? Yeah. I mean, I enjoy that song. It's not my favorite.
And then Belle of the Boulevard.
Belle of the Boulevard's good. What's your favorite album?
Oh.
Mine's not one that I ever hear anybody ever talk about, which is Shade Beneath the Poison Tree.
Oh, that's a good one. I
fucking love that album so much. If you knew what I know.
Oh gosh, that is a good one.
Try? Oh my God. That's such a great song. But that's probably my favorite album. But like hands down, like I love that song. That is such an iconic song. Yeah. That could be in any movie or TV show anytime. Chris Carrabba is the god of emo. No shade, Jesus.
He's so talented.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Swiss, but now I feel like I should say
Swiss
Shade.
Army Romance? That's a great. No, you don't say Shade just because I did. I just always enjoyed
that. But like going through that album in my brain right now, that is a good one. But yeah, I'm gonna say Swiss
Army Romance.
Yeah,
that's a great album. Is that the one with the On the Way Home? Mm-hmm. These cars eat my reflection. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's such a good. Highly recommend if you've never listened to Dashboard Confessional. If you need to get some shit off your chest, or if you just need to drive around.
Oh, it is great. Drive around and sing
and think about your life,
heart out.
All the things you've done well, all the things you've done wrong, which is where we're all good at that more than we are the other side of things. Yeah. Listen to Dashboard Confessional. They'll get you through it. They'll get you through anything.
They will.
They've gotten me and Emily through 13 years of marriage, 3 kids, 3 dogs.
They got me through life before you too.
Absolutely. You're welcome. So thank you, Dashboard. I can't wait to attach them to this episode. So
I love Dashboard.
And we're going to actually see them in August with Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a fun time at Starlight Theater in Kansas City.
Yeah. I wish they toured more often. I would go anywhere.
I think they do it every year. It's just we don't go every year, but we sure as hell try.
We do try. Yeah.
It's that time.
There is never
It's that time.
There's never been a show that I have not just absolutely loved. Blue, that's a good song.
Oh God, I love that. And the last time we heard him sing that live, he kind of forgot a couple of the lyrics in the middle, and then he freestyled it, which was awesome.
Yeah, and then the audience kind of gave it to him.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Everybody sings every single song, and it's majestic and wonderful. If you are going to watch something with Dashboard,
with Lauren and
Matt. But that's not when he didn't know the words of Blue. We actually took
that
Tegan
one was
and
at
Seamus in Wichita.
Yes,
the alien play, or like the thing that looked like a flying saucer.
Yeah.
Venue. Yeah. But anyway, if you do get a chance, and if you're going to watch anything of theirs, watch MTV Unplugged Live from like the early 2000s.
Oh yes. Gosh, we could do a whole episode just on Dashboard.
We may need to be like, we just may need to transition this over to just be an emo podcast.
That would be so easy to do.
I think it would. It would. So anyway, guys, stay in touch with us on that. If you got any questions, or hey, tell us what your answer is. What's your favorite band? Good God, that's such an intimate thing with being such a general thing at the same time. Mm-hmm. Come out to our socials. We'll give them to you at the end of the show. Tell us what the hell your favorite band is. We want to know. Yeah. I would love to hear that.
Yeah. Introduce us to some new music.
And next week, we'll be back with a deep card, guys.
Yeah.
So thank you.
All right. Let's break it down. Parenting, multi-part parenting.
That's why you bring it up. State of mental health in 2025. We're going to run into this, guys. So so Emily and I did a lot of research, and just so you know, for fact checking, okay, just bear with us, because a lot of people like to be fucking keyboard warriors and jump on, but you said this in like 10 minutes in, and then it's not true. Like, okay, take it easy. We're using the CDC, so the Center for Disease Control. They do a really good job doing research and providing statistics for the overall entirety of the United States, right? Yeah. So we're going to go off that, okay? Yep. And so that's what we're going to focus on, is the latest statistical trends here, okay? Mm-hmm. So,
and everybody knows that our kids are also in therapy. Like we are.
Well, Maeve isn't yet because she's 5, but Tegan and Seamus are. They're 10 and 9. And we both have had them in going through the therapeutic process now. Tegan for a couple of years, Seamus now for a year.
Tegan for about a year and a half, 2 years. Yeah. And
Seamus
Seamus
for
a
a
year.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so guys, we have personal experience with this. So,
Yeah. So this topic hits close to home for us just because we want to be, we want to give our kids those tools and that resource to be advocates for themselves. So that's really where this all stemmed from.
And I think that's a good point. So right before we jump into this, because we're going to start with positive mental health factors for all the different age groups for you guys. So you can kind of know, hey, here's where things are. It seems like on average, these aren't areas I'll need to be worried or is focused on in supporting my overall child's mental health, right? Mm-hmm. These are places where I can continue to help nurture it, but these might not be places, pitfalls that we fall into or run into. I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. But what I will say, Jesus Christ. But what I will say is that, with our children being through it, it just helps us. It's not something, at least for us, with Tegan, it was more reactionary.
Yes.
Okay, that's where I was going. Sorry. With Tegan, it was more reactionary. And I feel like we're always trying to play catch up, meaning that like we're jumping from one thing to another. And maybe because we were reactionary, we've caused other things, not caused it, but like there's things that have happened that maybe we could have prevented proactively. And whereas Seamus has been proactive. Yeah. And I think that while they have their own individual issues that they have to learn to deal with coping mechanisms and how they process through things, it seems like Seamus's has been a little bit smoother.
Absolutely.
But also you could say Seamus has less technical mental health issues. But again, there's no bad time to start the process of helping nurture your kids' mental health. Yeah. Right? I guess that's what I was trying to say. Mm-hmm. And if you want to learn a life experience from it, we weren't doing it until we had to do it. And then I feel like we should have been doing it sooner.
Yes.
So let me just put it to you that way, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
So let's start with the positive mental health indicators. Nearly 4 out of 5 children ages 6 months to 5 years, okay, that's 79%, exhibit all 4 indicators of a child flourishing, okay? So these are based on CDC's flourishing. 96% usually or always are affectionate and tender with parents or caregivers. 83% usually or always bounce back quickly when things don't go their way. 95% usually always show interest and curiosity in learning new things, and 99% usually or always smile and laugh. Now, it seems so simplistic and infantile, but these are all the core things about what makes or breaks an adult having a happy life or not a happy life, right?
Right.
So it's interesting, the positive mental factor of influence, but these are all things that like you would want to see exhibited in adults. And what you're going to see is, as we go through this, those numbers are going to go down. And then you're going to see, we're going to show you numbers where it's increasing of where problems arise and what are those problems, right? Yep. So it's definitely something to know that ideally the goal really is you want those indicators, those 4 indicators, you want that to be an adult. You want somebody to be affectionate and loving. You want them to be able to, even if it's a big thing, be able to work through a big thing. Right. Those are the things that are important. And I think that's what the focus, at least for us, Emily and I, that's where we need to kind of like tunnel vision our focus on for what the goal is of the kids. It's not for them to behave right. It's for them to be happy, productive human beings when they're adults.
Right. I want people to look at our kids and say, are those your kids over there in the corner? And you say yes. And they're like, they're good people. They're kind. They're respectful.
And they're happy.
They're happy.
I don't give it, like, you don't have to be
they don't need to be the smartest person in the school. They don't need to be valedictorians. They need to just be happy, healthy, good, kind people.
Now, what we can see is that, so now it's from ages 6 to 17, 3 out of 5 children exhibit all 3 indicators of flourishing. Mm-hmm. Okay. They all 3. So meaning that they're not exhibiting 4, all 4. Okay. So that it starts, you can see it kind of starts dwindling down as they go. Right. And so if it gives you any indication, it's like there's a large percentage of kids that aren't hitting all 4 indicators.
Well, and I think it also, you need to take in account 6 to 5 years, a parent or a caregiver is always with you at 6 months to 2 or 3. And then
you're likely less exposed to things.
Right. And then this next group, 6 to 17, you're school age. You're not with your main people.
You're into electronics more. You're getting screen time more.
You're exposed to a lot of other people, a lot of other different lifestyles. Different adults are your main influence for 6-7 hours out of the day.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And so, and this correlates directly, right? Do you want to read the mental health diagnostic statistics? It's on the next page.
Yeah.
At the top.
Sorry. I was like, no.
Sorry, I just don't want to, I don't want
so-
AI to cut this up and it's just me talking the whole time. People see my face enough. They need to see your beautiful face.
1 in 7 children ages 3 to 17, so that's 13% of kids, had or have a current diagnosed mental or behavioral health condition. And that was stated back in 2018 to 2019. Most mental health conditions became more common with increased age.
And again, it all relates back, right? Just like what we said. To your point, it's a children's world becomes increasingly bigger.
But like, this is where I kind of went down a weird rabbit hole.
Okay.
The specific conditions, which we pulled numbers from years 21 to 22.
That's because that's the most recent reporting we could find.
Right.
Just FYI.
10% of children of that group, so 9% of males and 11% of females were diagnosed with anxiety. 10% of males and 5% of females were diagnosed with a behavior disorder. And then 3% of males and 6% of females were diagnosed with depression. And I thought that was so interesting because you'll hear boys will be boys. Mm-hmm. Like, they're more aggressive. They're high strung. They're strong-willed. They're going to be bouncing off the walls. They're going to have trouble concentrating. They're going to have trouble sitting still, blah, blah, blah. Girls, oh, she's quiet. She likes to keep to herself. She doesn't make a mess. She doesn't want a lot of attention drawn on her. So it's like the way people are
Social
displaying
norms.
something is not, that's them exhibiting a problem, but it could also
doesn't necessarily mean that
potentially be misdiagnosed.
It's something to be mindful of, though, and that's why these statistics are important. The fact is that most of us don't think when we have kids. I don't know why I thought this, having the mental health issues I've had through my life. I didn't think my kids would have that. I really thought a lot of it was, I prevent trauma, and we don't have to. A lot of that stuff takes care of itself, and it's not true, because a lot of this stuff is chemical imbalances and those sorts of things. And then the environment, we can't, as parents, we cannot 100% of the time, even when they're babies, control the environment around us or the people that they're around at all times. And so that creates these things. And you know what I think was also interesting as well? If you have one mental health condition, typically you're going to find more.
Yeah.
And that though, to me, means though, that once people are being diagnosed, that means they're actually being reviewed more. They're actually being analyzed more, and they're seeing, hey, we're catching other problems.
Right.
So even if to me, it's like, even if you're on the fringe, if you think there might be an issue, it's like you should go get that looked at. And the earlier the better, because honestly, at least here in Missouri, if you live in Missouri, it takes a while to get your kid through the process where they can go and see somebody, and insurance will actually pay for it. It's not costing an arm and a leg to figure out if your kid needs medicine or if your child has anxiety or those sorts of things. And likely, it sounds like, based on this statistic, among children with current mental health conditions, meaning they were diagnosed, more than 1 in 3, so a third of them, had 2 or more conditions. Mm-hmm. So likely if we're experiencing something, we're probably experiencing a multitude of things. So it's not necessarily just behavior. It also could be, it could be attention deficit. It could be depression. It could be anxiety. It could be a multitude of things. We're just trying to base this off of, well, man, they're real antsy. They don't pay attention very well. Or, hey, they're really quiet and they always seem down. We aren't the experts as parents. I think the best thing you can do is be proactive and get them into a place, but it's got to be a place that you trust. You know what I mean?
Well, just knowing how hard it was to get our kids into therapy willingly. We were on wait lists forever.
Yeah, when it's like a voluntary thing, it does. It takes a year almost here. And we work with a great hospital. We work at Children's Mercy in Kansas City, and it's a great hospital. But it takes time.
It does,
especially
yeah.
And then once you're in it, you're in it. But it's like it's not something you drop off. That's the other thing too.
No.
It's not like you're treating a problem. You're really setting your child up for life, right? Meaning that if you're going to do it, I think the best way we have found it is you commit to it. So we're not seeing any specific issues with Seamus. I think there's things that he may get diagnosed with something.
He has been.
What, like ADHD?
Oh.
I don't think so.
No, not ADHD. I thought you meant like general anxiety disorder.
I know, but he's not taking medicine for it yet. They think that might be something he has, so they're starting to proactively work on those things.
Right, like he's learning coping skills and stuff. Yes.
And so that's really, if that's your goal, you don't have to worry about the stigma. It is no different from making your kid work out every day or make sure they get exercise and go out and play or they eat healthy. And we're going to talk about those other things too.
Right.
But that's what this is. And so these are the statistics really to support that, because no matter what, likely, especially if multiple kids, even if it's not your kids, it's your friend's kids, or if you're an uncle or an aunt. Like, these are things to be mindful of and be supportive of for your family.
Yeah, and it's making sure you get into the right type of therapy. Like, there is just general therapy, but then there's behavior therapy, and then there's developmental therapy.
Which they'll guide you to. You just got to get them into it initially.
You have to be willing to see
a general therapist. They're going to make recommendations.
Then they'll tell you where to go and what other help and what other guidance you need. And some of them all work together and some of them don't. And so you just need to figure out like what plan works for your child, because the plan we have for Tegan is not the same plan we have for Seamus and vice versa. And it's not going to be what it looks like for Maeve. So it's all such a unique, individualistic situation.
Because it is not a single person. So we're all, snowflakes in the sense of like, everybody is completely different, And so that's what's important. The big important thing, I think, too, so if you are focused on it, when you're talking about seeking general counseling support, just make sure that you're really into whoever you feel very comfortable with, whoever that is, because likely they're going to be ones making the recommendation. So like the biggest thing is that initial person you're working with, if you're not vibing with them, not meaning that if they tell you something you don't want to hear, you just get rid of them. Meaning that like you have to feel like you trust them, that they're their best interest. And most of these people are, but like some just don't you don't vibe with them the way you do. And you want to make sure that relationship's sound, because that's going to branch off into every other relationship that you have with the other providers and people that are going to potentially help you, especially if your child has a mental health issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was interesting that only 36% of people with the ages 3 to 5 received any sort of treatment or counseling. And that number skyrocketed when you hit the other age category of the 12 to 17. Like, and it went to 60%.
Yeah.
But that one's probably higher because it presents itself in such different ways that other people are noticing it, like teachers at school and sports and coaches and all of that stuff. So like people are more aware of it, and more like communication is higher with it in those age groups.
And I think that's the point, though. It seems like then when you're starting to get to this and you see these numbers really bump up, I don't think that's necessarily a good indication of like something happens then. It is, we're not being proactive.
We're reacting.
We're reacting, right? And then that's a whole, when you're playing catch up, and I can say this from somebody who has some mental health issues that's been playing catch up his entire life. It's not a good thing to be under the gun, in the sense of like you trying to figure it out because it's getting to a point where it's really affecting your day-to-day life. Right. And these numbers say that. So like among children 3 to 17, Emily had mentioned 53% received treatment. But here's the other thing too. 43%, their issues were severe enough that they took medication for emotional, concentrational, or behavioral conditions. Right. And the treatment rates vary by condition. Depression is our largest one.
Yeah.
Just overall depression is 79% received treatment or counseling for that of all the people. Anxiety was 59%, and then behaviors or disorders were 52%. So a lot of people can think or say, hey, well, they're lumping it up with kids who aren't behaving, but those aren't the two things. The biggest ones are depression and anxiety.
Which is so sad when you think that age group starts 3 to 17.
Think about the first time you were sad or felt left out or those sorts of things. Those things can be traumatic. Those things happen. Yeah. And remember when we were a kid, you'd see a counselor once a year or something, and they'd ask you how you're doing. You put together some Legos. It's a shit system. It doesn't really truly benefit the long-term mental health of a child the way we have it today. Counseling is an important thing, but it is more strategic and specific to your path in school. It is not really, in my opinion,
school
overly
focused.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about.
I said when we were kids. I didn't go to counseling at all when I was a kid. I didn't know anything about it.
No, but I think the school counselors that they have now are actual counselors.
No, I
They're
know
not
that.
like advisors.
I get that,
Yeah.
but it's still
We
still
had
not a very
advisors.
supported thing to this day.
Yeah.
Right?
Not every school is fortunate to have a counselor.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And then, of course, to your point, treatment rates increase with age. Ages 3 to 5, 36%, right? And then ages 12 to 17, 16. Or 60, sorry.
60.
Ages 12 to 17, 60% of children receive treatment or counseling.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be something that affects somebody and everybody. Mm-hmm. And even if you're not going and getting help, there's probably benefit to proactively having somebody to talk to. And no matter what, we're all going to have things, especially in this world, that is going to affect us negatively in a mental perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about adolescence though, because that's really the thing, right? Mm-hmm. So we're getting into where problems are not seen for the first time, but where they're coming to a head where it is making life hard to do the normal of what people expect day to day.
It's highly like displayed.
Yeah. Or it is cause and effect, right? These things are coming to a head. You're required to do more. You're required to be more as a citizen of this, of wherever you live, as a member of your school.
Your stress goes up.
And so where this is stuff, you're not, all of a sudden, you're not able to carry all this weight anymore. It's just not the same thing. And that's where these numbers come into place. And so it's not that there wasn't a problem there before. It's just that this is where, hey, this is too much to carry. And whatever it is, behavioral, mental, you know what I mean? Like whatever it may be, that's where you start seeing huge issues with being able to get through the day to day.
Right.
Yeah. So general adolescent statistics here, guys. 21% of adolescents ages 12 to 17 reported symptoms of anxiety in the past 2 weeks of the research. Okay. Meaning that of all those people they studied, within 2 weeks, almost a fourth of them had stated they're having some sort of anxiety issue.
Mm-hmm. And then 17% of them also reported depression.
Right. Yep. And among high school students, was taken in 2023, 40% reported persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness in the past year, meaning ongoing, not just at a time, meaning that it lasted elongated periods of time. 40%.
And the shocking one is that 20% of those 40, so literally half
of that number that said they were feeling sad, has
considered attempting suicide.
Yeah. This shit's a killer. And I think that's why it's so like, I know it's something we're talking about.
So heartbreaking.
Yeah, but it's something we're talking about. And it's like, we could be proactive as parents. We potentially could help save our kids' lives and our own, because as you lose a child, you're just never going to be recovered from that. I don't have that as personal experience, but I've seen that with people that had that happen, and you can see these things cause these type of thoughts that take you down that road where you think there's no other way, or you're in that mode where I'm supposed to be handling day-to-day life as a high schooler and I can't handle it, and I don't understand why. And I'm just a burden. You can see where that thought process starts happening. Mm-hmm. And that was probably, I honestly, of all the statistics, that was the one that was hardest to read.
Yeah.
So, parents, like if you do have adolescents, right now, and if they are talking about these things, it sounds like there's a pretty, not a 100% chance, but a big chance that they could be having those types of thoughts,
So that 20% has thought about it.
Yeah.
And then 9% reported that they attempted it.
Well, and again, that's based off it's based off also as well who actually said they were thinking that. I mean,
right.
It's such a looked down upon thing in society that you feel that way that I'm sure not everybody's going to answer that either. But the fact that a large amount did, it says something.
I don't think we're doing our new generations and our current generation too any benefit of well-being in the way that we are handling life.
Sure. So additional to this, and it's not Emily was breaking down the math of like, oh, that's 20% of the 40%. This is the overall questionnaire that they did.
Sorry.
So because you're like half of those people. No, it's like 20% actually of the total population is the one that said that. Right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
40% of that total population said they were feeling down and depressed. 20% of that total population said they have thoughts of suicide.
Oh, okay.
Here's where it gets even more fucked up though. Buckle
sorry.
up, everybody. Do we have to crew? 16% of these kids reported making a suicide plan in the past year. meaning that they planned on ending their life. So in a very specific way. Okay. And then 9% of that population reported attempting suicide in the past year. I mean, and here's the thing, you hear about it every day now, there'll be, it's not just high schoolers.
No,
it has taken our babies in the sense of like 10, 11-year-old kids. And again, it's not high numbers that it's happening, but you do hear about it on the news that there's kids that, and they say it's bullying, but also like, you know what I mean? Like it is our ability to handle the external environment. And when a kid is already going down a path, these external things just push them forward, and these kids that take their lives because of the external, and then their ability because of their mental health illness, of how that creates trauma, like it creates that process for them. It's horrific. And it's not just high schoolers. It just seems like it's getting younger and younger ages that are even thinking about those things. When we were kids, you just didn't even know that was a thing.
It wasn't a thing.
Unless you saw it on a movie or a TV show or it was talked about. But even then,
it wasn't
really. But you just didn't really coincide it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, we threw a lot of negative there, right? And so, guys, that's just more to be informative of here's things to look at or think about, right? Especially when you're having conversations with your kids as they get older. I'd never thought I would have a suicide conversation with Tegan at the age that she's had, but, we've run into those things. And then I've had those conversations with Seamus proactively. Like, you're going to feel down sometimes. And there might be a thought pops in your head about.
Well, they knew what it was before we knew they knew what it was.
I know. Yeah. But I'm saying my point is, so as parents, you may be apprehensive to have that conversation.
Right.
But likely, because of this world we're in, likely your kid knows a little bit something about it. But it's also very possible they could have felt that way. And they're just not, there's just kids that aren't going to tell you that or feel like that's not something you should tell. Right. And I think having those conversations proactively and making sure they feel okay and supported is, and that's not something we were always good at earlier. There's things we're getting better at. And it's because we're learning about this shit.
Well, and learning that they know more about the world than I expected them to at their ages or wanted them to at their ages. Like, I thought I was creating a bubble for our kids, and I clearly was not.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So let's end it with here's where to focus on based on the study, right? So research indicated that several factors that supported children's mental health, right? So social and emotional support, big one. 59% of adolescents report they always or usually receive social or emotional support, meaning they feel validated. That's what it is. They feel heard and validated in their feelings. Higher. Well, I agree, but I think also it can be misunderstanding and communication. It's not that their parents don't care about them. It's not they don't give a shit about them or anything like that. It's the way they're talking to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When there's kids hearing things like people are, I don't want to get too far down. We can talk about it more, but there's kids that hear things and they hear, I'm always messing up, or I'm saying that it's a parent scared. I don't want you to mess up when you get out of this house. So I'm focusing on everything negative. But there's 99% of every my interaction with you, it's always positive, but they don't understand that. And so that's where we have to have those conversations, right? 50% report they receive peer support a lot of the time. And again, that's conversations about, hey, it's really important actually who you have
who you're
as
friends with.
And who you spend time with.
Who's your circle.
And what does a good friend mean? Like having those conversations are a big thing. And we've just started doing those things. We're behind on it because, and thank you for this show, because we're starting to really have these good conversations with our kids because of that, right? 64% reported they receive parent support a lot of the time. That's good.
That's a good number, I think.
But again, it's perception and those sort of things. 81% report they have at least one adult in their life who makes a positive difference, which again, that says, here's the thing, the fact that they're focusing on one, like we've got to do a better job parents wise, like being on the same page. Yeah. Not being good cop, bad cop necessarily. Emily and I've had a ton of fucking trouble with that. We're getting out of it. That's been a huge issue for us. So for example, right, one's a punisher, one's the not.
We have good cop mom.
We have good cop and Emily. But no, that's not the same thing anymore. But these are things you just have to make an effort and actively talk about. Yeah. And that's what we're doing. And we're seeing positive results in it. And that's why we're pushing this information to you guys. Okay. Yeah. And then activities. So things you can do with your child or have them do that promote well-being. 61% report being physically active for at least an hour most days. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Just getting out and being physical. We're going to talk
It's
about
like
more
Legally
physical
Blonde
stuff lately.
says that
Later. Yep.
she works out. Endorphins.
Yep, that's exactly right. 34% report strength training most days. 59% report playing on a sports team in the past year. 27% report meditating in the past year. 22% report practicing yoga in the past year. So, and the thing is like team sports too. That's such a huge thing for socialization and confidence. Meditating though is something you can learn again as a coping mechanism. So it's like, can you start?
Like our kids my kids can meditate better than I can, which is something I have tried for years to do. And I still struggle.
They started young.
Yeah.
And anybody can Google or watch a thing for 5 minutes on doing that or what to do. And there's so many apps out there now, the Calm app and everything else that you can do that. You don't have to be an expert to do this, right? And so that's the thing, guys. It's just overall, as everybody knows, parenting is a fucking crapshoot. But the best thing you can do is be as armed with as much information as possible to the point where it's helpful and then make proactive decisions.
Just check in.
Well, no, I know that, but I'm just saying, but if you have a better understanding of where things may fall off the wheels or the wheels fall off, or you have a better understanding of what they may be dealing with, like anxiety when they get to this certain age or not, like those things are important to know because then you can have those conversations. Even talking about things like not wanting to be alive anymore or, just things of how you feel is normal. Is probably the best place to fucking start.
Taking away the
stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think, but when you do this research, you realize everybody's going through it. Yeah. And that's the thing. So you don't have to treat it like it's stigma. It's not something unique. It is something most people will deal with. And when you think about it like that, most people will deal with getting the flu. Unfortunately, a lot of people will deal with getting cancer.
Yeah.
Mental health is those are illnesses that are long-term and they can kill you just like any other major disease.
Absolutely.
And so the best thing we can do for our babies is be as proactive as possible. And hopefully this information
give them all the tools
some sort
in
of
their
insights as far as what you're going to be looking at, depending on your child's age and how maybe you can proactively help that out. I know it's done it for us.
And help them become more resilient human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. And guys, we're going to continue. So we're going to be following up. We're going to be talking about obesity. We're going to be talking about, the physical. We're going to be talking about behavioral. We're going to be breaking multiple things down.
Yeah.
I promise to call in Smedium Maskell. We'll try to make it a little shorter on our next episode, but these things are really important. We want to make sure that you guys all know out there, the Do We Have To crew, whether you're parents or not, you have somebody that's young that you care about likely. Yeah. And it's important how you show up for them and how you interact with them. And that's why we want to do this.
Yeah.
So guys, and again, let us know if you have any questions on any of this information. We can provide you with anything you need or just comment on us. Tell us what your experiences have been. Letting people know what you're going through in a healthy, positive way is going to help other people work through their problems. You can help potentially save a life by talking about it. Comment on our socials. We'll be sending video. We obviously always send out shorts. Go to our dowehavto.com, submit any questions to the show or give us any updates, things that are working for you, things that aren't, we'll bring it up during these segments. Okay. Yeah. So if you got anything coming up with like your kids, if you've had any kids that have had weight issues, if there's been anything you've struggled with, what's worked, what hasn't worked, let us know. We'll talk about that. We'll incorporate it because we're all going through this together. That's what the fucking goal of this show is.
It takes a village, people.
It does. Absolutely. So where can they reach us on socials? Just so anybody
they can reach us at our website, which is dowehavto.com.
Yep.
And then you can also find us on our socials and you can tag us through any hashtag that we have out, especially our Sour Patch Kid moments. We love to share those because they are always lighthearted and give everybody a reason to smile and just show the innocence of children. And so you can do that hashtag Sour Patch Kid moments. You can find us on Peloton. Follow Sean at Do We Have To Pod KC or follow me at Emily_in_KC.
I don't know if you want to follow me. I haven't been very good the last couple of weeks. I apologize for the Do We Have To crew. But we do have folks that are doing good.
You can tag us with the hashtag Do We Have To Crew. We've got tons of challenges going.
We just have one right now.
Oh, sorry.
Emily does not do the Peloton stuff, or you work out, but
I
I'm the one who manages all the
try,
Peloton stuff. So we do have a monthly challenge going on right now about how many workouts you can do. And I tell you what, it's pretty fucking impressive what our current leader is, which is, it's Krabby Cakes, right? Yeah, it's Krabby Cakes. She has 113 workouts so far this month, which is insane. Yeah. And she's in the UK, which is awesome. And then our second place person is Crazy Spin Legs out of Orlando. And we do consistently, little by little, we've been growing each week. And so our hours keep going up of how much we're working out. I think the last episode, it was 43 hours. Now we're up to 51 hours total worked out by the Do We Have to crew team this past week.
Yeah. So find us on YouTube at Do We Have to, a marriage podcast. Instagram, Threads, Facebook is at do.we.have.to. And then Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, is at Do We Have To Pod. And TikTok is at Do We Have To a Marriage Pod. So find us, like us, subscribe us.
Absolutely.
Hashtag us.
And thank you guys so much for joining the show. We appreciate you. Just know that you're not, whatever you're going through, it doesn't have to be with parenting, but just anything in general. We're right there with you. We've likely experienced it ourselves.
Yeah.
Keep up the good fight. Keep trying to be the best you possibly can be. Be kind to people and just make sure that we're taking care of each other. And ultimately just try to get through the day without being an asshole.
Yeah.
Love you, Rosebud.
Love you.
Wake up, I'm about to shake up every little thing, show you all that we can be. Come dance in my club.